All right, hello everybody. I'm going to step you through how to use ShredSheet, and I'm going to walk you through how a powerlifter might decide to go about using ShredSheet to track progress. So I'm starting with powerlifting because that's what I was doing and using the spreadsheet to track. So the first thing we're going to do is, after accessing the link, so you can get to that link through the description of this video or on the YouTube channel itself, is I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to either download it. You can download the Excel file locally if you'd like and have like a local Excel file, or I'm going to make a copy. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy, and I'm going to call this Powerlifting Shred Sheet. There we go. And hit OK. And so the reason I do this is because the version of ShredSheet you have access to is read-only. That means you can't edit it. And I did it that way so that everybody can start with the same version of the file and then can create their own copy that they can use to edit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my split. So I go to my training splits tab here, and you'll notice that there's a sort of an order here of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 repeats. Originally, I had arm day on there, and after seeing a powerlifting coach here in Austin, she recommended that I substitute arm day for a pull day. So she didn't see any rows in my programming, suggested I do that. So I ended up modifying my program to simply have rows. I'm going to go ahead and delete arm day for now. And so I have my leg day. So I would start with squats. You kind of, I might decide to just call this squat day, right? And just focus on the lift itself. Call this bench day versus chest day. Take sort of a break or maybe a conditioning day, then move into my deadlift day, and then into my pull day. And let's say this is just how I decided to organize my split. You might have a totally different split that you want to focus on. You might have a different microcycle. I'm working on a 5-day microcycle here. You might decide, okay, but I also have a 6-day yoke, a 6th day of yoke training. Or I might, if you're doing strongman or what have you, but for powerlifting, you might have this as your microcycle, and that's how you'd organize. And the reason I have the numbers in front of it, one space dash space, is to help me sort the order of the day. So it's first day of my microcycle, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day. And so now I've got my training day set. And what this allows me to do is go to my daily log and select from a drop-down menu of my split. So now you can see I have a list here to select from in terms of what I want to choose from. And I have a couple of columns that I can update. I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the existing values here. So I have a bunch of values in here. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of them. So I have a fresh starting point. There we go. I'm going to leave the IDs in there. Should probably hide that column. So that column might not even exist next time you come here. So today's date is 8/25/2020, and let's say my training day was squat day. I'm going to go for a barbell back squat. I might decide to indicate that it's a high bar back squat. Let's say I have a total weight of 245 pounds, and I did a total of 12 reps in the set. It's my puppy, Sella, in the background. Total of 12 reps in the set. And the total number of sets that I did was 5 sets. I'll get to the 1 rep max plateau in a minute, but let's say my 1 rep max plateau is 1 for now, and I'll explain what that means in a moment. And there we go. That's how I enter my first workout there. And I'm going to go ahead and do that the next thing, which is, again, it's the same. It's squat day. I use Command D in the cell to pull up the same value, or I can just drop that down from the values I've already selected. And I might have another workout here after my barbell back squat, which is the leg press. Let's say I decided to go to a leg press afterwards, just to do some additional volume afterward, and take my legs to closer to failure. So leg presses here, and I say, okay, well, I'm going to say that I do 315 pounds, or what, 44 or 45. This is the nice thing about Excel is I can say, okay, well, equals 45 times 2 gives me 1 plate on each side, times 3 plates on each side, gives me a total of 270 pounds on the leg press, not including the weight of the press itself, whatever that is. I think it's like 90 pounds or something, but let's say I'm just focusing on the weight of the plates. How many reps did I do? Let's say I did 15 reps, and I did, again, another total set of, total number of 5 sets of that. And so I did 5 sets of 15 reps at 270 pounds of leg press. I did 5 sets of 12 reps of 245 pounds of barbell high bar back squat. And let's say over here I go, again with my, I don't need this here. Now, the cool thing about the 1 rep max plateau, if I go to my 1 rep max lookup table over here, so let's say my 1 rep max for high bar barbell back squat is 315, just hypothetically, right? And that is for the, go back here and find the exact phrasing. This is important. I'm going to copy this exactly. 1 rep max lookup, boom, that goes right there. And so now I have my barbell high bar back squat, 1 rep max is 315 pounds. And I've documented, ignore that, I've documented my 1 rep max plateau here. And here's what's neat is now that I've told it what my 1 rep max is, it's going to go ahead and tell me what percentage of my 1 rep max this set weight is to gauge intensity for this particular lift. So it's going to calculate which particular week we're in based on the date that I've provided. So this is week 35 of the year. It's going to give me my total repetitions over here. So total reps is 8 times 5 is 40. My percentage of 1 rep max is 245 divided by my 1 rep max at 315. And I have my total volume here, which is my exertion coefficient times the number of sets, or it's my just total volume, which is just set times reps times weight at 9,800 pounds here. So that's something to check out there. It's useful to measure the total volume. And then on top of that, we also have a sense of what the intensity is based on percentage of 1 rep max. So we can kind of trend that over time. And let's say, a couple of weeks go by and suddenly my 1 rep max has increased. I'm not going to edit. I'm going to go to my 1 rep max lookup and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? My barbell, my back squat is increased and it is now I don't know, let's say I put 10 pounds on that, 325, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put this in again, mark this as 325. And what I would do is when I track my back squat is I would just, I would use the second plateau. So now my plateau has increased from 1 to 2 for this workout. And so my percentage of 1 rep max has decreased. It's now 75.38% because it's out of a 1 rep max of 325. If I go back to 1, you'll notice that this value is going to increase because it's a lower 1 rep max. So just something to consider there that can be really useful. The volume trend is interesting. The volume trend allows us to track the progress over time. So if you go to the original sheet, so it's harder to see without more data, but one of the cool things about tracking the data the way that it's being tracked here is that you can actually see the total volume over time. This is the old example of using the total weekly volume, but you can see my week over week. So each column here is a week. So every item on the x-axis of this chart is a week. And for that week, I have my split represented by different layers of this. It's called a stacked area chart. And so this green layer represents all of my total volume on leg day over time. This yellow layer represents my chest volume over time, or bench volume, right? This red layer represents deadlift day. And so deadlift volume really saw some major increases here towards the middle, and continue to grow there. And then my arm day, you can see where I stopped doing arm day and I switched to pull day. And so you basically you get to measure your total volume over time. And what you'll notice is that the volume sort of started to decrease. And that was in large part because when I got that coaching, part of what I did was I realized that the volume didn't matter to me as much as that the intensity was consistent as high at the time. So not saying that you should do the same, but just my goals shifted a little bit. And you can see that here now in my percentage of 1 rep max that's tracked here. So you can see that I was touching like 86, 69, 95% of 1 rep max and kind of oscillating here a little bit. But over time, you can see that my intensity got closer and closer to 100% over time. And, some of the feedback I got from my coach too is like, hey, if you're able to hit 120% of that's not really your 1 rep max. The value that you put it there is important. You want to work with your coach to figure out what you're actually tracking. But the cool thing about this chart is that it will let you track your intensity over time and make sure that you're being consistent in terms of percentage of 1 rep max that you're touching. So you'd ideally want this chart if you're focusing on strength, and if you're focusing on on intensity and getting into maybe like your peak week or your peak microcycle, that you would want that to be closer to 100% across the board. As you start with your earlier microcycles for a given mesocycle, you might want that to be lower intensity, like 60, 70, 80%, whatever that your coach tells you to do. But you'll see that actually bear out over here. So there's that. And then on top of that, I had this main lift total work. The cool thing about this is you can really play with what your metrics are and what you choose to measure over time, but you do get to see it. So there's no data here because the values aren't being captured because we just started a new sheet, but over time we'll start to see that data start to present. And so that can be really exciting. I'm going to go ahead and finish filling this out. So, I've got my squat day, I did my leg press. Let's say I did some leg extensions and I did that at, 120 pounds for 15 reps for 3 sets or something to burn out. And you'll notice I'm not using the 1 rep max for my leg press. I'm not using 1 rep max for leg extensions. I really only tracked my 1 rep max for my main compound lifts. So the barbell back squat, the deadlift, or bench press. I would track my 1 rep max for those and be able to measure that here. So I'll go back here at squat day and I'm going to represent back day or bench day. Here we go. I'm going to travel into the future and I'm going to say I have a bench press and I probably sound a little weird calling everything like barbell bench press, barbell high bar back squat. But, I would also track my dumbbell bench press and my, dumbbell squats and, dumbbell deadlifts or dumbbell bent over rows versus barbell bent over rows. So I just liked it, differentiating it for the data. So here we go. So barbell bench press, say I'm doing 225 for 6 reps and a total of 5 sets. I don't know, whatever that is. And I have my 1 rep max plateau. Again, this is a 0% value, but I'm going to go to my 1 rep max lookup and I'm going to give myself my first plateau. And this is a barbell bench press. And I'm going to say that my 1 rep max here is like 255. I don't know. Let's say that's what it is. So when I go back to, I think it's, let's say like 265. I don't know. Go back to my log and you'll see that my set weight, my intensity here is fairly high at like 84, 85%. So again, just an easy way to track that intensity over time. And the volume trend will give you that information as you start to gather more and more data. So with that, let me actually just play with this really quickly. So I just noticed that this didn't actually track the full log, and I'm curious as to why. So I'm going to check this out really quick. Show me 0 items. What kind of filter do I have here? Select all. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's just like a weird filter situation here. I think I might have just filtered out certain days. And so, yeah, you know what it is that because I changed the training splits, the filters were set for specific training days. So I'm going to remove the blanks from here, hit OK. And now I have my first 2 values. I have my squat day value for volume, and I have my bench day value for volume, and it's all still the same week. But I have my bench day represented here. Total volume is 6750, squat day 35,450. If I go to my daily log and I look at my total volume here for squat day, I can see that that sums up to 35,450. And if I look at my bench day for this week, so this is week index 35, I've got 6750, and let's say after the barbell bench press, I did some dumbbell bench press. All right. And for dumbbell bench press, I did 120 pounds, and I did 15 reps for 5 sets. And I don't have a 1 rep max, so I'm not trying to measure that necessarily. And so I've got that in there too. And let's say after that, I did some cable crossover, for lower pec. And I did that at 65 pounds for 12 reps for 5 sets. And so now I have more volume here. I've added more volume. And if I go back to my volume trend, you'll see that my total, let me go back here, just make sure that I'm actually attributing that to bench day. So this is bench day, this is bench day, and all the same date. There we go. So my volume trend, you can see now my volume is 19,650 for bench day, and it's 35,450 for squat day. So I've taken my first measurement now, and as I move on week to week, if I go to my daily log, let's say I do all the same stuff here, equals 7 plus, there we go, all right, let me just do that for 6 days, something like that, there we go, kill this one, and I do all the same stuff a week later, except this time I add, say I add equals, I'm not saying you're going to add 10%, equals 1.1 times every value here. I'm not saying you're going to increase, but let's say I increase the weight the next week by 10%, right? So my volume is going to increase. I should see my weekly index change. So now I'm at week 36. In the second week, if I go to my volume trend, I'm going to see the change over time. So now I get to see my increase in squat day volume and my increase in bench day volume. And you can see that measured here. It's just it was a really nice feeling when I would come back to this chart and see that change in volume, because I enjoyed measuring that volume and that change in volume over time. And it was a really helpful metric for me. And over here, I'm going to just do the same thing here. I'm going to fix this, filter out the blanks. I'm going to keep these 2 days. So now I'm also going to look at my percentage of 1 rep max touch, and I can see that my intensity grew because my weight increased that I was lifting relative to my 1 rep max. And so my plateaus didn't change, but the weight that I was hitting increased, hypothetically, right? And so I can see the intensity grew as well. So really interesting thing to track, cool stuff to measure. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or any comments on this. Happy to offer some advice. And yeah, go out and get after it.